Tell me when we're live.
We're live.
Okay. Calling to order the City Council Successor Agency Financing Power California Choice Energy Authority meetings. The meeting is being conducted telephonically, virtually per Governor's Order N-29-20. Because this is a telephonic meeting, all votes will be taken by roll call. City Clerk, can you call the roll?
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris.
Present.
Molly.
Present.
Mann.
Present.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Chris.
Present.
Mayor, Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And do we have someone to do the invocation tonight?
Yes, Pastor David.
Oh, good. Okay.
Sir. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll go and begin. Dear God, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here with your appointed people in this city. We thank you for their desire to begin their service and their time and meeting and planning for the city, first to seek you. And we know that all things will be added unto us as we seek you. And I just thank you, first and foremost, as a recipient, as a resident in this city, for all the labor of love and time spent in relationships and networking and all the efforts that has been done, that these leaders have shouldered so that we can have peace in our homes, so that we can actually have unity in our homes, so that we can have a refreshed thankfulness for our first responders and all those who play a key part to making this a blessed city. We ask, Lord, that you would increase and give them wisdom and knowledge that is given from you alone, because every good and perfect gift comes from you. So we pray that as they plan, as they speak to one another, that they will be mindful of how they want to be heard and be quick to listen, and then also extend the very same thing as others speak. And we just pray that you continue to keep them, unite them, and lead them this day, and continue to provide all that we stand in need of. We thank you for the healing that you have done locally here from our AV hospital and all those, and even with Samaritan's Purse. Thank you for providing that. And we look forward, Lord, to this upcoming year, a new opportunity to walk out of this situation refined and renewed and thankful for all that you provide. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Amen.
Okay. City Manager, are there any items to be removed?
We'll need to continue NB1 to a future meeting.
Actually, we want to continue it to a meeting certain, so that will be on March the 23rd at 5 o'clock p.m.
Thank you. That's the only change.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second that.
City Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris.
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Mann.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chris.
Yes.
Mayor Paris.
Yes. Okay.
Passes unanimously.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to ED1, COVID-19 pandemic update and actions. We'll hear the staff report from Jason.
Just like every week, we've been asking the doctors to give a report, and then small actions as it relates to an agreement with regard to the fairgrounds and the vaccination site. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Trong and the deputy mayors.
Okay, let me share my screen. Can everyone see the full screen?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So as a physician, we like to share good news. And this is one of the few times where I get to share good news. So I'm very happy about this. So I'm going to start with the usual, start with the world, go down to the United States, California county, and then our cities. So basically, currently, we have 117 million cases throughout the world, 2.6 million deaths. When you look at the 7-day average graph, as you can see, there's been a substantial drop compared to January. And there's appears to be some lingering, but the deaths have also dropped. And there's been a 14-day change, a little uptick, but not in the United States. This is somewhere else, as you'll see in the next slide. So here in the United States, we are at total cases, 29 million, 44 million new cases, about 500,000 deaths. USA remains number one. Behind that is India and Brazil and Russia and the rest of the world. I usually have a better map, but for some reason last night when I was putting the map together, the map that shows which countries are hardest hit wasn't available. So I used the Johns Hopkins map. And it's not the same, but basically it just shows that North America, South America, Europe are the three hardest hit continents. Africa and Asia, moderately light, very light, Australia light, and then a big cluster in India. So that's where we are with the world situation. So here in the United States, we have a total of 29.7 million cases, about 538,000 deaths. As you can see here, I mentioned earlier, the graph has been substantially dropped. And you look at the 14-day change, really, really favorable, 12% drop in cases, 10% drop in deaths, and this is critical, 34% drop in hospitalization just from the past 2 weeks alone when I last reported here. California remains number one in terms of cases, Texas, Florida, and the rest of the top 12 and 13 states. It's high, but we are improving total numbers. This is the map of, basically we are in the light average between 10 and 20 cases throughout the, per 100,000 throughout the country. There are small pockets here, Texas, here, what state is that? Colorado, but for the most part, we're yellow to light orange, very favorable. If I compare that to how bad it was back in January when I reported here, if you recall, we're pretty much purple through the lower third, lower half even of the United States. So going back to this slide, this is really, really favorable in terms of numbers and improvement of this pandemic. Going to our state, again, LA County is still the highest in terms of total cases, new cases, and 22,000 deaths. But looking over at the graph, as you can see, there's a precipitous drop for the past 7-day average in terms of positive new cases. And favorably in California, 14 days, 35% drop in cases, 12% in deaths, and almost 50% drop in hospitalizations. So things are going well. And as I mentioned, this is good news that, that we as physicians like to report out in general. This is the map of the total cases. And here we are around this range, very favorable. And it's just really good news all around. Going to our county, we are still at the current risk of the tier 1, but if it continues to, if we continue to test positive at this rate, 2.4%, we're probably going to drop down to this orange status, and that will really allow us to open up even more. Our total cases, new cases as of the 8th is 880, and our total is 1.2 million cases throughout the county. This is just a map of the county risk. We are still in the purple range with 34,900,000 of the population. 87% of the we're still in the white thread, but I think by the next report out 2 weeks from now, we will probably be in the orange to the yellow range if this trend continues. At the county website, we look at the light blue is the daily cases, and as you can see, it has really dropped down to, gosh, practically at the beginning of the epidemic in March of last year. I mean, it's really, really low. And so too is the daily deaths and fatality rate, also substantially dropped, which is very favorable. Going to the map of cases per 100,000, we're still, the Antelope Valley, Lancaster, Palmdale, we're still in the medium blue range in terms of total cases. Santa Clarita is still light blue. The San Fernando Valley, the central San Fernando Valley, similar rates, dark blue like us, and then central LA. But for the most part, the coastal cities are light, basically at a very low number, which is good for them. We track this every 2 weeks, and basically nothing has changed in terms of disparities with age and race. As you recall, the younger population, 18 to 59, this group really carries the burden of the infections in terms of number of cases, but the deaths are really in the older 65 and above. Hence, the push to vaccinate people in this age group, 65, initially over 75, now over 65. So that has not changed. And then in terms of the races of cases per 100,000, Latinos still top in our county, followed by Black, other, and then white, and then Asian. And then percentage death versus the population, Latinos still, you have more deaths per population, and then white, Asian, and Black. So looking at the death rate, we are now at the death rate of 200 per 100,000 throughout the county. Hispanic Latino is at the highest, 320 per 100,000, and the highest poverty areas carry also the highest death burden. That has not changed, just as the number has increased. Here, deaths continue to drop favorably based on this graph. And on this side, as I mentioned, hospitalization also continues to drop very favorably. Going to the community in particular to look at the actual numbers. Here we have Lancaster and Palmdale. Lancaster is divided into the 3 areas. And it looks like in terms of the adjusted case rate, compared to LA County is at 11,608 per 100,000. We are higher here in Lancaster with our younger demographics at 13,263. Fortunately, the death rate is 200 LA County. We are better at 185. Going a little bit south, our neighbors in Palmdale, higher adjusted case rate and higher death rate as well. So I want to spend a little bit time, a few slides on the latest Johnson & Johnson approved vaccine. This is another good news, a third approved vaccine. It was approved February 27th from the FDA website. So basically, it's called the AD26CoV2S. It's published in the New England Journal. They published their trial results, so we're able to review it and peer review it and look at it in detail. It basically has the Wuhan strain, the genome sequence, and it uses a virus, an adenovirus, that basically has been weakened and not allowed to replicate. And then the adenovirus packages the spike protein of the virus, so virus packaging virus, and then making it into a vaccine. This vector has been used before. It was in the Ebola vaccine by Europeans. It's been in the RSV vaccine, HIV vaccine that's been tested, also in the Zika. So a lot of people are more comfortable with this because it's been around about 5 or 6 years, and it's been generally determined to be safe in field studies of these vaccine trials. So basically, if you recall, this is the virus and the spike protein. This is the one that the virus uses to infect us. And basically, right now, the three branches of vaccine in development, you either use the protein base, you basically sequence the protein and make and purify it and inject to make the antibody, or you do what's very popular now, the mRNA. You take the virus mRNA and you coat it in a lipid coating, and then you inject it into the body, which makes the antibody. This is the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine vehicle. The problem with this lipid coating is that you have to basically freeze it at very low temperatures, so it's hard to distribute and make. So here, this is what's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. They take the spike protein, they purify, they put it into a virus, and then the virus injects it into the body to make the antibody. So this is what we're talking about here, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. A kind of a busy slide, but basically it's a diagram of taking the J&J AD26 adenovirus, making it unable to cause disease, taking the SARS mRNA, sequencing it and putting it into the virus, make a vaccine out of it, inject it into the body. The body now detects it and makes antibodies. And if an infection occurs, the antibodies are already available, and basically it attacks the virus and prevents infection. So the study was pretty extensive, 43,000 participants throughout the world. It was in South America, South Africa, South America, Mexico, and the US. 21,800 received the vaccine and 21,888 received the placebo, and they followed the patients for 8 weeks. And very mild side effects, injection site, headache, fatigue, muscle aches at the most, only lasted 1 to 2 days. So here's the results. This is the money slide pretty much. It tells us what happened in the US and Brazil and in South Africa at day 14 and day 28. And basically, it prevented all these severe diseases. And if you look across at day 28, it was as high as 85% efficacy. And there was a concern with South Africa because the efficacy in South Africa appeared moderately lower than in the United States or Brazil. And the thinking is that during this trial, because it's a later trial, the South African variant was predominant. So with the South African strain in South Africa, this vaccine was not as efficacious against it. So that's the only caveat. Importantly, no one in the trial who received the vaccine died of COVID, although they got infection, but nobody died. So that's also very helpful. They also found that a single dose of this vaccine was able to produce neutralizing antibodies in 9% of the participants. They followed patients for 71 days, and it appeared to be durable. So it's good at least for the 71 days that they follow these patients. And what's nice is that you can just use regular refrigeration from your home refrigerator, about the same temperature, because the adenovirus vehicle is very stable. So in the end, we now have 3 vaccines. The Pfizer, the Moderna, we're very familiar with. They both require 2 doses. Pfizer requires 2 doses at 21 days and 28 days. The efficacy is very high in both the Pfizer and the Moderna, but the Johnson & Johnson, very helpful at 72% and only 1 dose, and no safety concerns, and very stable in standard refrigeration for 6 months. So going to then just a vaccine effort. Looks like this map tells us where all the 3 variants of concerns are. The B117 UK variant, the South African, and the Brazil. And so far, looks like Florida is reporting a bigger a chunk of the variant 117. California's reporting a little bit more, and Michigan, but for the most part, it's still less than 200 cases throughout the rest of the country. This table shows vaccination efforts. So far, the United States has administered 92 million vaccines, and the population, anyone over age 18, we are about 12% fully vaccinated, and anyone over age 65, about 30%. So we are, on the way to getting herd immunity, and it'll take some time, but with the addition of the third vaccine, I think we'll get there even faster. Here, the latest data in terms of graph of how much vaccine, and it looks like we're just trending up higher and higher each month. This was published in January, and they had predicted that by October, the rest of the country will reach 70% herd immunity of vaccine. But with the addition of the third vaccine, they're talking about June being completed, and by July, we would reach herd immunity. So that's actually even more favorable with this third vaccine.
So, Dr. Trong, if the United States is going to be at 70% by June, does that mean Lancaster can be there by December?
I hope we're there by June as well.
I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yes, yes. There seems to be lag, and we have more slides to show. Yeah, there's a lag in delivery of the vaccines. This talks about which states are doing well vaccinating their population. The dark blue is the 30,000 plus. It looks like the West, we're right about maybe second in line in terms of volume. And the Janssen single dose has just started right now. So it looks like Pfizer and Moderna are 15 and 10 plus million doses. So going to the LA County website, they've administered 2.4 million as of March the 3rd. 800,000 of them were second doses, and they're now vaccinating phase 1A, healthcare staff and long-term, and also phase 1B, anyone over age 65, people in education and childcare, food agriculture. I think as of Monday, they are talking about starting patients 16 or over with underlying immune suppressive disease that puts them at higher risk. So that's also being rolled out as well. Last time I presented here, we talked about a mismatch geographically for percent vaccinated versus the level of infection. If you recall, our area is medium blue, so we have moderately high rates of infection. But in terms of vaccination, we are basically on the low side and the light, less than 10%. Other areas that are moderately blue, again, it looks like they're not vaccinated. And areas that are light blue, basically less infection, they are moderately vaccinated. So there's a mismatch, and that's been addressed already by here and also by the media, especially LA Times had a very extensive article on this.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Dr. Trong, let's be clear about that. You look at this, the county deliberately, without any reservation, decided who was going to live and who was going to die. And they decided we were going to die before anybody else did. I mean, look at this map. And it's been 2 weeks since the last council meeting, and show me how this has changed. It has not changed. They are still vaccinating. They are still making a political decision about who to vaccinate. And they're saying the right things to the LA Times, but what they're doing is the exact same thing they were doing a month ago. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right. It hasn't changed. This was from last night. I got these 2 maps from last night, and that hasn't changed. It's getting better. But overall,
when they make a decision, that people in this area are going to die, that is a homicide. Any way you look at it, it's a homicide. Now, why the hell isn't the county giving us the vaccine that they report they're giving us and let us distribute it? Because they sure as hell are not doing it. This is the most disgraceful, despicable thing I have ever witnessed. And they continue to do it. And where the hell is the county? Why aren't they explaining this to us? I mean, it's real simple. You put the damn stuff in a truck, you send it up to us, and we'll have these people vaccinated in a month. Dr. Trong, do you doubt that we could do that?
no, we have the capacity. We just need the vaccines. We have all the personnel needed. It's just one shot, another shot 21 or 28 days later.
You know, this isn't lifestyle. This is not a Latino lifestyle that's causing these people to die. It is the county deciding they're going to die. And even okay, maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but I don't think so. When you look at 300 deaths per 100,000 people, I think that's exactly what they've decided to do. But look at the devastation this disease does to the people who survive. And it's because the Board of Supervisors has decided that is who should suffer the consequences of this epidemic. There's no other way to explain it. And in 2 weeks, it would seem to me they could have had this vaccine in our hands. I'm feeling like a broken record. And the only reason I keep singing the same song is because the people keep suffering the same disease. I'll give it back to you, Dr. Trump.
Okay, thank you. These are just the sites that they have reported that are now vaccinating, and it's still kind of light in our area. And then 2 more slides to go. Basically, vaccine distribution by race, ethnicity. It's still a mismatch. Again, you've seen this before. The Latino have the highest, but they're really not the highest in terms of vaccination, of getting their vaccines. And this is a good match, though. Patients who are 65 and 79, they're the highest rate of death, and they are getting their vaccine. So that's a good match. And that's all I have.
Does anybody have any suggestions as to what we can do about this? I mean, they are just ignoring us. Jason, any communication with them at all?
We communicate with the council. I mean, obviously with the council.
Why don't we take that truckload of bodies and deliver it to the Board of Supervisors' front door? Because we got truckloads of bodies. I mean, it is beyond my capacity to understand. They are deliberately holding on to that vaccine for the white affluent population, and they are continuing to do it.
We have some good news with the partnership. We're giving out since yesterday 600 doses of vaccines a day, and by next week we should be ramping up to 1,000 doses a day at the fairgrounds. So we're making progress. Kaiser received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and it's going to be part of the whole vaccination campaign. So we're going
to need a new site. Are they going to keep those separate, or what's the plan? Do you know?
So their advantages, for example, the Pfizer vaccine was approved for age 16. So we're using that on the younger population to vaccinate them. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine approved for 1 dose. So we're using them right now to give to people who are stuck at home the debilitated, the elderly who can't leave the house. So we're putting them as priority to get that first, just logically. And then once those two groups are completed, then it should be able to go to the rest of us. So we're targeting strategically to give to people who are stuck at home who can't come in. We're going to bring home health and bring the vaccine to them. So that's our strategy for now.
People ought to be aware. But for Kaiser and Kaiser's vaccine allotment had nothing to do with the county's allotment. The county did not give Kaiser one vaccine. That came from the state. But for Kaiser, we would be down to about 5% vaccinated, a vaccination rate of about 5%. If we were totally dependent on the county, we'd be out of ventilators till today. Kaiser has saved this community. It is.
Yeah, we on average vaccinate either 80-20 or 70-30, between 20 to 30% non-Kaiser. Basically, anyone who falls in the tiers, even if you're not Kaiser, you will get the vaccine if you qualify. So that's what we're doing now.
I want to be. I get a lot of questions during the week, but is the Kaiser site open equally to everybody, or is there or there's priority to Kaiser patients? I just want to. I think we've done very well in being totally transparent about how we've managed this vaccine and how we've managed the epidemic, and so I want to continue doing that. Is there any truth to that?
To be honest, our local sites, we don't know who's Kaiser or non-Kaiser. People get onto the website and they sign on and they get a medical record number if they're not Kaiser, and then they get a date and a time that they pick. But in terms of the algorithm of deciding, we don't know. But on average, throughout all of Southern California Kaiser, we're averaging between 20 to 30%. And that number should go up as we get more. But for us here at our local site, we don't know who's who. We just give it because we doesn't bother us. We give it.
Okay. Yeah, and just a note, Mayor, on the operation, it's operating very well. It's very efficient. No lines, people running through pretty quickly. We even had some staff testing the Kaiser site. It doesn't ask any other questions. Are you a Kaiser member? Or are you a non-member? You pick one, and then you pick a time and a date. It does everything appears to be operating very smoothly. And there's a lot of capacity there too. So we'll be ramping that up. And as vaccines become more available, if the Johnson & Johnson comes available, the capacity is pretty strong there. We've been running it with city staff currently. We'll be rolling that out to community volunteers late this week, early next week, starting to integrate the volunteer crew in there because we have put our full city staff on it this week, which has impacted some of our other services. But once we integrate some of the community volunteers, we've got a good system operating. It'll be operating until we're out of this thing. So they've done a great job. And I echo your comments about Kaiser. They've done a fantastic partner.
Would you get together with the city manager of Palmdale and the two of you get down on your hands and knees and beg the county to just give us our allotment of vaccine and let us distribute it? I mean, all you have to do is look at the map. And the map tells the whole story. And I don't know if it's deliberate. I don't know if it's an accident. I don't know what the cause is, but I know what they're saying is not what they're doing. And Tiffany, I see you there. Do you got something to add? Uh-oh.
Donna?
Yeah.
Donna's here.
I'll set up a meeting, JJ and I, just specifically with our county counterparts and see what we can do.
The two cities could. I don't know what they're doing with the vaccine, but they're sure as hell not giving it to us. And we've got to get our people vaccinated.
Right. We'll do that.
Thank you. Tiffany, do you know something?
Hello, this is Donna.
Yes.
This is Donna. I just want to let you know we are meeting next week with JJ in the city of Palmdale because we're still working to identify an additional permanent site out there. They did have a really good drive-through event last weekend on Saturday with partnering with Bart's Altadena, where they were able to administer 700 doses. Each of the community clinics allocations have been increased. This last week, the county got their largest allocation of over 300,000, and 50,000, actually I think it was like 53,000 of those were the Johnson & Johnson doses, which are being targeted and allocated to the heart, like Dr. Trong said, to the harder reach communities, because it's easier with the one dose for that administration. Wesley Clinic's allocation's been increased. They were getting 600 weekly. Last week before last, they got 1,500. They had a very good outreach event as well. The hospital is partnering, as you know, with the teachers, and they get the educators vaccinated to get schools reopening, and High Desert's allocation has been increased. We've also, the county's added 11 mobile teams to serve the outreach in the AV targeting areas like senior living facilities and apartments for those that have trouble getting out and of course can't drive down to the megapod. So it is increasing. It is getting pushed out. The Johnson & Johnson, I don't know if I said this, after the first allocation we got, they won't have any more available for the next 2 weeks.
So what percent of the county allocation did the Antelope Valley get?
I don't have that figure.
So of course not. Thank you, Donna.
Good news.
That
Can I
is
give
not
some
good
good news while I'm
It
talking?
is not good news.
No, it
We
is
have
if we're
people
moving in.
die.
No,
We
it's
have-
not on vaccines, but we're moving into the red tier by the end of this week, hopefully. That's good news.
There's nothing good about that news.
Well, I know, but it's better news. Let me say that. New guidelines will be coming out hopefully tomorrow for the reopening of middle school and high schools. So that's a move forward.
So Donna, if you're gonna speak for the county, why don't you just tell us, why don't you give Palmdale and Lancaster our share of the allocation and let us do it? We have no confidence in the county. Can you answer that for me?
I will try. I don't have the authority to answer that I can authorize that, but I understand what you're asking.
Okay, just so we're clear, what I'm asking is I'm asking you to no longer have a disproportionate death rate, that you fix this today so that people of brown skins are not dying at 3 times the rate of people with white skins. That is the worst form of racism you could possibly imagine. And it is not something that I find tolerable when I am the mayor of the city where those people are dying. And I know you're upset because that I am not totally polite with you when we discuss this. But I would like you people to understand that we are talking about people being put in body bags from which they never return. Just give us the vaccine and we will put it into their arms, because it's now been 3 months and the county has failed. They have failed in the most utter, it's indefensible what has occurred up to this level. Tiffany, do you have some good news?
Well, I had good news. So this past weekend, John Wesley Center had another event where they administered another 400 plus vaccines. Bart's Altadena had an event at all 3 of their locations, I found out today. They had one in Palmdale where they administered 700. Their Lancaster site administered 300, and I don't have the numbers on their other site at the moment. But the Lancaster Bart's Clinic has actually administered 1,100 vaccines so far, which, considering what their allocation has been, is really wonderful news. And they are both of those clinics are still very eager to work together, work with the city in any way possible to get vaccine into arms as soon as vaccine gets to the AV. So a lack of resources is not the issue at this point. It is just that we need vials of vaccine.
And it would seem like the vials of vaccine are still going to white affluent areas. I mean, nothing I've heard tonight indicates anything other than that. As to it's Bart and John Wesley, isn't it?
Yes.
Whatever they need from the city, we'll give them. If they can get the vaccine, we'll give them the sites, we'll give them the personnel, we'll give them the volunteers to put it in people's arms. But you know, we cannot celebrate 700 vaccines in a week. We're talking 450,000 people in this area. 450,000 people. Do the math. If we put 4,000 vaccinations out a day, that's 100 days, right? We need these people vaccinated quicker. And the only thing standing in the way is it's not being fairly distributed. And I you know, I haven't seen anybody raising hell about it except us. All right, thank you. Make sure you have that meeting with JJ, Jason. Make sure we're moving forward on our own public health agency. I think we recognize this is a dress rehearsal for the next one. Yeah. And there would be absolutely no excuse if we're in this same position. Thank you. So, Jonathan, I appreciate your efforts. I appreciate all the deputy mayor's efforts on this. This is the only time I get to hope we attract some attention to the disparity that's occurring, and that's why I go off the way I do at these meetings. It's the only hope we have of attracting some attention to the problem, because clearly nobody south of Avenue S seems to care. Thanks. What else we got?
Mayor, can I add that in addition to the vaccine itself, raising awareness among the populations that we really want to get vaccinated who may not be aware the vaccine's available or where to go, the benefits of it, or overcoming other barriers. We did work with Daryl earlier during this pandemic with the churches, and this weekend, Maria and I, along with Jason and many of the Sonia and Ramon, a lot of people from the city, put on an Ask a Mask event at the soccer center in Lancaster, and saw nearly 200 people, did 2 Facebook Lives, met with a lot of families, and people had a lot of good questions. We had handouts with really good education stuff, as well as masks and the cards to help people go to restaurants in town. And I think it was a real positive event. And I think people really want to get vaccinated. Hopefully they're going to tell other people in their communities. And we targeted people who don't have doctors, don't have nurses, and probably don't have health insurance in town. So I want to thank the city for that.
And Dr. Stock, we do have a video if Katie wants to play that, just a short summary so people can see how it went. Good to see you in your glory. I don't know, Katie, if you're ready. I sprung it on her. I was going to do it at the end of the meeting.
I have to, I'll go for it.
got some Pele going on there, Dr. Stock. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he had his exercise, important part too.
Yeah, we had a good time. You know, I just want to say we are in a serious life and death race with time right now to get this town vaccinated, all of the Antelope Valley. And because of the good people on this call and other people listening in, we're going to make it happen. We need to get this town primarily vaccinated by these priority groups and then everyone else before these variants take hold and start replicating and being transmitted person to person. So the way we stop that is get people immune. And until then, keep your social distance, keep your mask on. And that's our orders, okay? That's what we need to do.
And just a reminder too, until you've been vaccinated, if you do have an exposure, have symptoms at any time, if you start getting symptomatic, testing is still going on over at Jethawks. The hours have changed a little bit, so check that before you plan on your day, but testing is available. It's really quick turnaround time, get your results within about 4 to 12 hours, and then proceed from there.
By the way, I was over at the fairgrounds today. I was so impressed. This thing was running like a watch, and they were seeing 700, but they could have easily seen 1,000 a day, and they said they'll be ready to see 2,000 a day when they're all ramped up. So I think we can get this done. You know, there are volunteers there from the city and from you know, a lot of good volunteer work being done, as well as and professional work being done. So.
I have one question, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this is Dr. Trung, Dr. Stock, and all the other Tiffany and Nurse Maria. I keep getting asked the same question. If you have contracted COVID already, and according to the whole thing is to get it in your system and your body creates antibodies, should they be vaccinated if they've had it? Can you please answer that once and for all? Should people be vaccinated or not after they had it?
I'll answer that. So once you're infected, you have about 3 months of antibody in your body. So you're good for about 3 months. But if you get the vaccine, it's even better. So studies have shown that the vaccine actually generates more antibody and more durable than the wild type infection. So you can delay, but 3 months is usually what we talk about, having the natural immunity. And then then you should get the vaccine. So yes, yes to both of your questions.
Yes, and Daryl, as you know, I work at the hospital, and you know, I got COVID, and I also got the vaccine. So it's very important, just because of my exposure to the community. So I definitely got the vaccine, even though I had COVID.
So, Maria, was it as bad as we hear?
Well, like Dr. Trung said, I still have the antibodies, and I got, you know, the vaccine within the 3 months. So everybody's different, but it's very important for everyone to get the vaccine.
Good. Okay. Just so everybody knows what we were supposed to have this week. We were supposed to have our share, whatever the county had in their warehouse, in their freezers, plus 40%. That's what they came out and said what they were doing. We should have had more vaccine than we could put in people's arms this week, and we did not. And that's one of the reasons I'm so upset about this, is they're saying one thing and they're doing something different. And if we didn't have you guys, meaning the Maria and Larry and Jonathan and Tiffany, you know, we would be so far behind the curve on this. I mean, you were truly a blessing to us. You guys put this together. You guys told us how to do it, and you know, we're ready to do this. We just need to get our share of what's out there. I don't know what it's going to take. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any suggestions? And Larry, so how many people did you have go through that thing?
I think Jason told me about 180 is what I heard.
And how many stopped soccer?
Yeah. Oh, play. we had a good soccer game. We got a lot of talent in the city, and even some of the doctors and nurses are pretty good. It was a good way in between visitors because we had a big area, and so we got. Anyways, it was real good. Good team building, I can tell you, and we appreciate it. It was a great event, and we could do it again. I think we got to the folks we wanted to get to, and that was what's important. But the key thing here, I want everyone to know, is everybody counts here. We can't leave anyone behind. Every single person in this community matters. We're not safe till everyone's safe. Okay.
I think we got to start looking at making sure we got all our programs ready to launch in June. Do you see any problem with that, Jason?
Well, we're launching, and I'll have some report at the end of the meeting, but we're launching them now. So it's not just till June. We've got softball going, soccer going, farmers market looking to open in April. So there's a lot of these things that we're rolling out currently. We're looking at an LPAC season for August. So there's a number of things we're doing in preparation because we anticipate if everything goes as expected. We'll be looking at a bunch of different events and opportunities come July.
Terrific. Thank you. Good. Okay, let's move on. Oh,
Marvin, we can't hear you. You're muted, Marvin.
We got to do a motion to continue the ED1.
To approve ED1.
Approve ED1. So it is. Is there a motion?
Move to approve ED1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We need public comment first.
Let's open it up to public comment.
Just give me clinics, please.
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on ED1, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to comment on ED1. No comments for ED1.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Let's vote.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Members Doris.
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Mann.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chris.
Yes.
Mayor Paris.
Yes. You know, if any community leaders want to protest at the Board of Supervisors office, the city will provide the buses. It looks like that's what it's going to take. But a lot more people of color have died from the mismanagement of this epidemic than from any other cause. And if ever there was a reason to protest, it is this. And I absolutely mean that. We will provide the buses.
And ED1 passed unanimously.
Yes, it did. The consent calendar, we want to remove CC3. Any other thing we need to remove from the consent calendar? Are there any public comments on the consent calendar?
This time, anyone wishing to comment on the consent calendar, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to comment on the consent calendar.
Not hearing any. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar without CC3?
Motion to approve the consent calendar is currently comprised pulling CC3.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Let's vote.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris.
Yes.
No. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. Go on.
You pulled it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chris,
Yes.
Mayor Paris.
Yes, passes unanimously. Now moving on to CC3. Do we need public comment on that?
We did public comment on the consent calendar, but we do need Councilmember Doris to state his conflict and recuse. I believe he owns property within proximity to the project.
My church is located right in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Pastor.
Okay, is there a motion to approve CC3?
Motion to approve CC3.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Let's vote.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chris,
Yes.
Mayor Paris.
Yes, passes unanimously.
With Councilmember Doris recusing.
Right. Moving on to NB1.
I think we pulled NB1.
NB1 is being continued to the March 23rd meeting at 5:00 p.m.
Okay, thank you. NB2. Let's hear from Shannon Dow.
Good evening, Mayor Paris and City Council members. I'm happy to present the update on the Restaurant Rescue Package extension. I'll share my screen here. As you're aware, the City Council enacted the Restaurant Rescue Package in December to aid the many restaurants who were hurting due to the extended closures due to COVID. We have seen a great deal of success with this project. We have had 64 businesses sign up. These include restaurants, wineries, and breweries. These span across the community and all different types of cuisines and business types. We have distributed 27,500 gift cards to more than 50 local organizations with a focus on healthcare providers, as well as first responders and essential workers who all received the gift cards first. And then we worked our way down to additional individuals such as manufacturing, school districts, and other local employers and organizations. Again, 27,500 cards have been issued. 64 businesses are participating. Nearly 16,000 cards have been registered on our website. And we have just shy of 13,000 cards have been returned to City Hall after being redeemed at restaurants to date. This has represented a significant investment in local restaurants at a time when they need it the most. This had several different branches of our program. The takeout and chill redemptions and meals were $283,000. We had about $27,000 with LCE bill credits. We also provided CRA restaurant memberships. This is the statewide organization that has been spearheading the efforts in court to make sure that restaurants can be open to the maximum extent possible and while still accommodating COVID. We also had about $50,000 in Samaritan's Purse meals, and we made sure to invest that money in locally owned restaurants. 70,000 have been dispersed in grants to date, and we also supported the local restaurant association's Taste of AV marketing in January. So all in all, that's about $446,000 that we have invested in our local restaurants. We conducted a survey just before the program first ended, and we got overwhelmingly positive feedback. Everyone wanted to see the program continue, and they have even gone so far as to say that the program has saved their businesses in some cases. And finally, the extension that you're considering tonight would be the second extension for the program. This would allow the program to continue through April and May with a new deadline of June 30th to redeem the cards, and then the restaurants would be bringing them back to City Hall in July. So we would wrap this up this fiscal year. And with that, I open it up for any questions.
Any questions?
Are we going to continue to sign up restaurants that have not signed up yet?
Yes, we have continued to enroll restaurants throughout, and we're, as long as there is funding available to provide them the grants, we will let them continue. And once that funding quits, we'd still be happy to take them on to accept the cards as long as there's funding in that part of the program.
Maybe Shannon, if you can stop sharing your screen.
Oh, sure.
So how many cards have been distributed so far?
27,500.
And how many are left?
About half. So we've had just over half have been redeemed. I believe it's about 58% have been redeemed to date. So we have quite a few left out there. We do know, for example, 2,500 went to Destination Lancaster hotels. Those may have gone home with people who may or may not be coming back to Lancaster. So there are some we don't necessarily expect to be redeemed. So we have ordered some additional cards to support this new extension.
Okay. So the plan is to have all 27,500 redeemed. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the goal.
Okay, good. Thank you. It was a great program, Shannon. You did that overnight. That was impressive.
I have a question. Shannon, can we get a new picture on the cards?
You'll have to check with the mayor.
Daryl, I always worry about incoming when I say stuff like that. All right. So Daryl, whose picture would you like to put on it?
Of course. Thank
you. All right. Do we need to vote on this?
Yes, please.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve NB2, but we still need to.
No.
Public comment.
Yeah, but I want the motion up before we do the public comment.
Okay.
Okay. So, Andrea, let's get public comment.
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on NB2, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to comment on NB2.
Hearing none. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Let's vote.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Members Doris,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Christ,
Yes.
Mayor Harris.
Yes, it passes unanimously. Moving on to MB3. If we could hear from Lee DeRico.
Good evening, Mayor Paris, Vice Mayor Christ, Councilman Mann, Molly, and Doris. Tonight before you is a staff recommendation to approve a contract for homeless encampment cleanup, illegal dumping cleanup, and vegetation removal services throughout this city. It's under RFP 73320. Recently, in the last several months, there's been a significant increase in calls from the community as it relates to encampment cleanups and illegal dumping, as well as we have other vegetation issues for removal throughout the city. This is a joint proposal that both comes from public safety as it relates to encampment cleanups and from development services as it relates to illegal dumping and vegetation removal throughout the city. Now here's going to be the challenge for the day, and everyone knows with this but you. The Lee is electronically challenged, so I'm going to try and share my screen. I have some photo examples for the council as well as the public. Can everyone see my screen?
Nope.
We see you.
No.
Sure. Okay, I was afraid this would happen. Let me try this again.
Come on, Lee, you can do it.
No, I'm telling you, this is a challenge for me. I'm not kidding.
You can do it, Lee. Come on.
Hey.
There it is. Oh, almost.
Except I don't have it now. Okay.
We don't want any surprises here, Lee.
I just told you, sir, that's the problem. And I made sure of that too as well. But anyway, as you'll see by examples here, there's some significant issues as it relates to community health and safety, especially as it relates to encampment cleanup and as well as illegal dumping. That has been a significant, illegal dumping especially has been a significant issue for some time in our community with all the open area around our community and a very limited access to our local landfill at certain times. Of course, the city has worked at various times with community cleanups that have been very productive, but I believe with contracting out to an agency who primarily will focus on this. This will have some benefit for us. Okay, now here we go. So I show you some examples. Initially, we blocked out, so the face there is blocking out individuals that were at the location at the time. But just to give you some ideas of things that are going on throughout the community identified by addresses here. And this is fairly common. Just last year alone, just from the public safety side for encampment cleanup, the city had well over 1,000 tons of trash and debris removal from campsites. On the public works side, that's an ongoing issue that's been daily, and it's been aggravated by the lack of a CDCR contract due to COVID with no inmate work crew, as well as the other issues that we've been dealing with as a city for the past year. As you can see, some of these are very significant amount of debris. And as I go through this, you'll see as it relates, and some sites are, well maintained at the same time, but there's issues with sanitation as well as trash, and then narcotic paraphernalia, narcotics, hypodermic syringes. And again, you can see these are all the locations that I'm showing you for this presentation are right within the heart of the community.
What is, somebody got a bike shop they're running there, or?
Yeah, that's an ongoing issue. And then that's something we have worked with some of the recycling centers. There's a significant number of bicycle theft throughout the community. You can see a lot of those are stripped down to the frames. The reason the parts are taken off for recycling purposes, but the frames themselves have a serial number on them. And so they're not something that they can turn for recycling.
So they steal the bikes,
strip the parts that they're able to recycle for the metal for money, and then leave the bike frames. And that's an ongoing issue, as you'll see in some of these further pictures. Now, the reality is a lot of folks don't keep the serial number for their bicycles. So they report the theft, and we get a lot of that impacts a lot of our larceny numbers, but people don't track the serial number of their bicycle. So if we went out in the system, if people had the serial number and reported that to law enforcement, that serial number would go into a system. And if those were recovered, we could recover the stolen item.
So is the ACLU helping you recover the kids' bikes that are stolen?
Yeah, no comment, sir.
No.
No comment. And then you can see this has a real impact, and this is something our public works crew contend with all the time and are within our drainage system. This is one area that's been determined through the courts this is an immediate removal. So when we become aware of this from our public works crews, that turns into an immediate removal of those items.
And this is why the ACLU is suing us, and they get a full-blown article in the LA Times over it.
And then you can see here, there's some narcotics present, some paraphernalia. And again, it's similar. Honestly, I'm very happy about what the council did at the last meeting regarding shopping carts. I don't know how any of the stores locally have any shopping carts for the general public to use. The sign there was interesting after the sign. So,
why? What was the sign?
The sign was telling people there no alcohol, no narcotics, no this, and it was actually a theft of a sign. Some of the issues that you'll see around the community is we have a significant number of motorhomes. Most of those motorhomes are non-operational. There's a program through the city of Los Angeles for individuals to receive motorhomes to be moved throughout the county for folks to reside in. If you're downtown, like on Vermont or somewhere in the valley, you'll see lines of motorhomes down there that are lined up on the public right of way. So you can see some narcotic paraphernalia, hypodermic syringe. And then this is some of the weapons that our contract guys and our public safety specialists have recovered from some of these camps. And then this is where Public Works is really contending with issues right here within the heart of the community in our alleyways for some of the illegal dumping sites. A lot of this is probably from trash outs from rental properties or some issue. And then a lot of the stuff we see out in the open field areas are typically probably a company that's come out and contracted for services to do a clean out at a rental property and then just dumped it out in the desert. And so the number of calls daily into Public Works, as well as public safety, as well as generated Comcade complaints that come in, is very overwhelming to try and keep up with the amount of activity that's taking place. So with that, staff is asking that the council approve a contract with AV Recycling Center. I'm going to stop the share, I think. Did I do that right?
Hey, good job, Lee.
It's a miracle. Okay. With AV Recycling Center of Lancaster, it's a local provider. They've been in business for years here in the Antelope Valley. Contractors were required to submit a proposal to demonstrate their ability to deliver services for all three tasks, with the city's intent of awarding task 1 through the contract with Public Safety, 2 and 3 with Development Services. The RFP was listed on the city's website and the city's online bidding service, Public Purchase. Proposals were due on February 17th, 2021, and AV Recycling was the only company that responded. The proposal was deemed to meet the needs of the RFP, and staff recommends to move forward with contracting AV Recycling Center to perform all 3 tasks with council's approval.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Any public comment?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on NB3, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press star 9 at this time if you wish to comment on NB3.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve NB3.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Before we vote, did anybody have any questions of Lee?
I got a question. Lee, what is the procedure for moving out the encampments? What usually happens?
Well, we post every encampment. Actually, we used to use a red post, and that seemed to be something that irritated. So now we use all kinds of colors like lavender and pink and everything for a posting. But there's a specified requirements in the laws that relates to being on private property and public property. And as I stated, they're different. So on public land, there's a requirement we follow for the number of days that are beyond the scope of what the law requires. We even wait beyond that for the cleanup to give people an opportunity for the advocacy service providers and them to have an opportunity to make contact with those individuals. And then we wait a number of days beyond that. So we're always out past the day requirement that we posted for. In the private sector, it depends on what the location is and the potential impact. If there's exigency created with that, then there's a different set of standard for that. Now, as I stated earlier, in the public, like let's say in our drainage areas and everything, those are immediate. That is, the court has determined that that's a life and safety issue for those individuals that are inhabiting those spaces, and that needs to be taken care of right away. But we still, at the same time, depending on whether we monitor, working with Public Works, what the impact is, make that determination at that time, based on those circumstances.
Okay, thank you. Let's vote.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Members Doris,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chris,
Yes.
Mayor Paris.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Moving on. We have any council reports?
I'll start. We were able to do the TDA Article 8 hearings. That's asking the general public if there's any unmet transit needs in our UZI, which is the ABTA's jurisdiction. There's 3 jurisdictions that TDA Article 8 covers. It is the Palmdale Lancaster area, the unincorporated area of the Antelope Valley, Santa Clarita, and Catalina Islands. Those are extra monies that are allocated to us. If there's no unmet needs, then that money can be used for road work. So it's very important to us on what we do and how we do that. So we did have that hearing this week. Did participate in saying thank you to Kaiser for all that they've done for the community. On a personal note, my mom is 92 years old. She is not ambulatory. I take care of her. And Kaiser did send their home services out to give her a vaccination. So big kudos to Kaiser for what they're doing, you know, for the community. And that's about it.
Anyone else?
Wasn't really anything that happened with SCAG other than some equity presentations that happened this week, and me and Trolise paid attention to. Talking on the events that's going on today, people discussing. But other than that, the High Desert Corridor and SCAG is nothing so much to report on as of right now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. One of the things I'm concerned about is the vaccination site. We're still using business hours, and the problem with that is what we know is that there's a large segment of the population that when it comes to work or vaccinate, they're going to work. And so we need to figure out a way, at least some days out of the week, for us to get those sites open, or at least the one site open at the fairgrounds, you know, really early in the morning. You know, I'm talking 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, so that these folks can get vaccinated, or do it in the evening. But when people are struggling to put food on the table, they will sacrifice themselves in order to feed the kids. And so we need to work around that. So if by next week we could have some kind of plan in place. And the other thing I'm running into is that people are still having trouble negotiating the internet in order to set the appointment. So I'm wondering if we could have a manned number at the city that people could call and we could help them through that process, or actually make the appointment for them, and make that number clearly attainable. Like when you go onto the site, the first thing you see is that number. Any comments on that?
Yeah, we do have a call center set up, so we'll do maybe get a better job getting that information out. I think a better flexibility, and I see Tiffany just popped up, better flexibility might be with Bart's Altadonna or some of these other groups to have more flexibility than the fairground site specifically, just because they're probably a little more flexible on that. So we'll work with Tiffany, or if Tiffany can reach out, I think that'd be a good question to ask of that group.
Yeah, the Wesley Center has had, the past 2 weekends, they've had Saturday clinics. And I'm absolutely more than happy to reach out and ask about either early or late extended hours, as well as continued weekend hours.
One of the problems I'm seeing with how the county's dealing with this is they're dealing with facilities that have limited number of personnel. I mean, unless, in case anybody's missed the message, the priority of the city until everybody's vaccinated, until we have herd immunity, is the vaccination program. If that means we don't fix streets, we don't fix streets. And I know you are. I mean, the staff is doing an incredible job. But now the focus was on the hospital. Now it's on the vaccination program. And Tiffany, I want you to make sure that those facilities know that we will do whatever's necessary if the county will give them the vaccine. We can't assess what do they call that, where they're roving? Jason, what do they call it? When the county comes up and is
Mobile.
The mobile vaccination sites. Unless we have raw numbers, there's no way for us to assess the effectiveness of it. And they don't seem to be sharing the information with us either as to the number or the locations. And you know, that's just not adequate.
I see Chief Stuckey here. He popped up on the screen. You might have some additional to your question, Rex.
Yeah, that's me, Donna. Sorry, I've lost my video capability. I don't know what's happened.
Donna, I think we're going to go defer to Chief Stuckey to talk about the vaccine. He was going to go on. Okay.
We can help with vaccine appointments. The mobile units just started this week. I'll report the numbers. I don't have those yet, what they did this week. This was our first week of getting them out. They're doing senior living facilities. I know they did Rancho Village and Palmdale. I know that for certain. They're doing some out on the east side. I'll get that report for the next meeting on what we've reached out in mobile units. But
Chief, did you have something to say?
Yeah, just with my view from the Megapod Fire IMT machine, it's been interesting just before you get caught up in targeting days and times. It's been interesting as we've navigated this. You know, we started with the 65 and older, and we'd get a big rush in the mornings. Obviously, most of those people are retired, so we'd get a big rush in the mornings. Then we went into the educators and some other tiers, and we'd get a big rush late in the day. Typically, as Mayor Paris said, our weekends are fuller for the people that are working during the week. But as we navigate the tiers, take maybe a little bit of a deeper dive on those tiers for what their daily model looks like. And then really the only other piece on the vaccine mission is, Jason, as you know, we've got the Jethawk Stadium engineered. We did that in a day. Just like Dr. Trong said, we've got the capacity. We just need the vaccines. But just wanted to touch on that tier base and daily hours piece.
You know, Chief, I'd be totally thrilled if they just give the vaccine to you. I have absolute confidence in you that you could work with the two cities and get this stuff distributed. And if you could convey that to the people who make the decisions, we would appreciate it.
Mayor, on your behalf or the behalf of the area that I work in, I'm like a broken record down there at many levels. So I'm aware of that. Basically on our own with Jason and Andrew, we went out and engineered Jethawk Stadium and had that mapped, done, ready to go. As soon as those vaccine comes on the Fire IMT side, we'll launch. So you got my word. I'll keep beating the trees as best I can from my end of town.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. Moving on to city manager. Do you have any announcements?
A couple, just obviously want to give a shout out to Kaiser. We've talked about them a lot, but they're doing a great job out there. We'll continue to serve. Got a lot of excited people out there. And, you know, it's kind of fun when we kind of comment there is that everybody in that building who's getting that shot is not going to die of COVID. And I think when you put it in that perspective, it's really cool to simplify it that way. Every person walking in that door is not going to die. So it's kind of exciting and fun for all of us. We're doing a spring distribution Easter giveaway for groceries and food. It's going to be March 27th at AVTA in partnership with the City of Palmdale, AVTA, and T-Mobile. We're also working with Dr. Stock and the deputy mayors to potentially do a mask and ask as well through that location while we have a captive audience to have that opportunity for them to ask any health questions as well as to provide them any information. So they'll be working down that path too. It was, like I said, it was a great event this weekend. We hope to continue that when, try to incorporate that into many of our events, the health component of that. We're happy to announce that we were awarded a PHLA grant, which is a permanent local housing allocation grant. It's $4.1 million over 5 years, and it's used for new construction of rental housing, home buyer assistance programs, and rehabilitation of owner-occupied housing. And I think what's interesting about this grant is we have the opportunity as part of our code enforcement team. Oftentimes we see enforcement as the only tool. These funds give us an opportunity to not only to give grants to people to help fix up their homes if there's code violations, things of that nature. So there's a really unique opportunity to kind of partner with these funds. I want to give a big shout out to Shannon and her team, specifically Chris Ani, who worked really hard to get this grant. I think it's the first of its kind that we've received. So we're excited about that. And we'll be getting that out in the next few years. And we're getting it out soon, but the 4.1 million is over a 5-year program. So we're looking forward to that. And as you mentioned, Rex, about, or Mayor, about opening up.
You can call me Rex.
Yeah.
People kind of know who I am.
The target date is set for April 1st to open up the farmers market again. So we're looking forward to that. And another opportunity for people to get out and commune, be part of their community again, and obviously do that with social distancing and safety requirements in place. But nonetheless, it's a sign that things are moving forward. As I mentioned, softball's opening up, teams practice, as well as the soccer center and some of the other sports specifically. And I did see, I don't know the details on the pools, but we're even looking at opening up the pools. So as we start seeing these things roll out, as we get the vaccine out, it's going to be kind of a balancing act. As we roll that vaccine out, we're going to start rolling out city services and city programs again. So I can tell you on behalf of all the city staff, they're excited about this opportunity. They've busted their butts to get to where we are right now. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're kind of excited to get back to normal a little bit. So, that's all I have. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Have you got something on the reading enrichment program for the grades 1 through 4 once we get back?
Yeah, so we have park staff working on that as well. I mean, there's a couple ways we're looking at doing that. We have a CARES program already, which is kind of an after-school program that we operate in conjunction with the school district. I think that vehicle works well because we have captive students when they're back in school. The captive probably isn't the right word. We have the students there on site already, so they don't have to leave. But beefing up the student to teacher ratio or the student to person ratio so that we can do a little more in-depth enrichment versus just more of a play or a homework function. So we're looking at that as a strategy. The vehicle is already there, beefing that vehicle up to kind of help those kids who have been left behind because of Zoom access and things of that nature. So they're working on that right now, and the funding is available for that.
Great, thank you.
Excuse me, Jason, before you move on, I didn't know if you still wanted to do the Red Cross presentation during this time.
No, there's a Proclaiming Red Cross Week, Red Cross Month, and we have a proclamation for them that we'll be handing to them and doing media on that as well. Thank you, Andrea.
Okay. Before I turn it over to the city clerk for the public comment, anybody have a burning desire to say anything? The one thing I would like to say is, I understand how harsh I'm being, and I understand that I am stepping on people that I've had long relationships with. And I want it really clear. I don't care. Until we get our people vaccinated, we are talking about life and death decisions that are being made elsewhere. And I have no loyalty to anyone other than the people living in Lancaster who are not being afforded the opportunity to get vaccinated. So if anybody is concerned about me being unnecessarily harsh, I intend to be unnecessarily harsh. And I think it's deserved. I think that all of us have an obligation until that vaccinations are evenly distributed to do exactly what we're doing. And if what we're doing isn't enough, then we need to do more. And I meant what I said about providing buses. We will do that. We have to get our share of the vaccine up here. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Andrea.
Okay. At this time, anyone wishing to comment on non-agendized items, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your copy number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please keep in mind state law prohibits council from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to comment on non-agendized items. Caller with the last 4 digits, 7232, please state your name and you may begin.
Good afternoon, Mayor. And,
hi, Fran.
Hi. Long time no see. But I just have a quick question. Did I hear Jason say that they're going to be opening the swimming pools? Or was I just hearing?
Yeah, I did see something about that. Maybe is Sonia out there? Maybe Sonia can be more specific about the time. I did see something about pools opening.
That's not my question is, if you're going to be opening the swimming pools, how is that going to work with the social distancing, and they're going to be in the water, and the water's going to be, some of it is going to be ingested and spit out. How is that, what's the control about the virus that might go into that water?
Fran, we're going to put up a sign that says you got to keep your mouth closed when you're swimming.
You don't make our pool, Fran, you don't make our pool sound very appealing. Sonia, I'm sorry. Did I misspeak when I talked about the pools?
I don't know. Well, I just heard you say you were going to be opening the pools, and I was just wondering how that's going to work with, with the people that are the swimmers.
It's chlorine. Probably the pool's the safest place to be.
Yes, there are protocols, and the mayor is correct. It's chlorinated and chemically balanced, and there are protocols in place through the county health department that will allow us to open the pools. And sorry, I muted myself. We're working on hiring our staff to be able to open in the coming months and be prepared for summer.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1995. Please press *6 to unmute yourself and state your name, and you may begin. Caller with the last 4 digits. Okay, there you go.
Yes, Eugene Hernandez, resident of Lancaster, voter, Green Party member. First of all, I'd like to comment on Pastor Dave's remarks. It seems that he gave blessings to the council to prevent people from speaking. And I think that his prayer should have went out to the homeless, the jobless, the Black, the poor of Lancaster. I think his priorities are all wrong. It sounded like a white supremacy prayer. Second of all, this past Sunday, the Los Angeles Times had an article regarding the sheriffs and Lancaster. They pointed out that the sheriff's department has had a long history of lack of transparency, not following their own rules. And what is most outrageous in the article is that the housing authority used the sheriff's department as armed thugs to throw Black residents out of Section 8 housing, contributing to the homeless problem that we have here. And by the way, your propositions on eliminating homeless by taking away the shopping carts is not getting at the real problem. That's a Neanderthal point of view. The real problem of homelessness is lack of homes, lack of housing. And if any of you have taken a sociology class, you would realize that the way to solve the problem is to give people shelter. But thirdly, I'd like to say that the contract, again, with the sheriff's department should be terminated. Defund the police. Black Lives Matter. The fact is that money that's spent by the sheriff's department for brutal and for killings should better go to help the homeless, to help social services, to help the mentally ill. I hate to see us wasting so much money on a department that is so lawless that cannot even follow their own regulations. And fourthly, I would like to say that I agree with the passion of the council regarding the COVID immunizations. I think that we have been left out of the county. I would agree and support going down to the Board of Supervisors. I myself am scheduled for a test, a vaccine on March 18th, and only through Kaiser was I able to obtain it. But we seem to be the stepchild of the county. I've read that the people of Beverly Hills have jumped in line in communities where Black and brown people are getting the vaccination. I certainly hope this does not happen in Lancaster, and I support your passion regarding this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Caller with the last four digits, 4912. Please press *6 to unmute yourself and state your name.
Good evening, Mayor and City Ruth. And I want to go ahead and respond to a few of you guys' comments. You guys both made a comment that how come the ACLU isn't looking for the stolen bikes? Well, I'm happy to inform you that the community has been donating bikes to us, and we've been giving them out on-house community that have the need for it. Also, we have been doing food distributions all over the Antelope Valley in passing out PPE, hand sanitizers, as well as disinfectant, as that is not provided out in the community. So we've been passing that out. We also, another thing that we have come across is in the last meeting, we were told that there's an agency that is going and it has 100 appointments for the in-house to call in and make those appointments to get the vaccine, and that they're going out into the fields with 10 vaccination a week. We have contacted all the different camps that we've been going, and nobody has heard on any of this. Not only that, they don't have cell phones, and how are they supposed to be making those appointments? So we're making all these decisions, or should I say you all making these decisions without really thinking of what's going on in your city and forgetting and always saying, you know what, just marginalizing people even more. I commend you the fact that you guys now open the vaccination center at the fairgrounds, but you forgot about Little Rock. You forgot about Lake LA. So again, Mayor, since you always say you like solutions, I took it up on myself to contact LA, and we're going to be bringing a vaccination down in Little Rock to start helping the community that is actually affected by it, which are the Latinos and the Brown community. So I just want to say that maybe instead of making just decisions, foolish decisions, maybe you should consider and really working with the community that is actually out there in the community, boots in the ground. It's not costing you a penny, and we're doing the work because we believe in our community. This is where we live, and we want to better the community. So instead of fighting and keep calling, the ACLU out, keep calling our chapter, we have time after time been asking you guys to work with us, and nobody has ever called from the city. Then, it's really annoying to keep hearing this over and over again. I'm still waiting for the call. I'm still, in the trash cans, by the way, which they were never provided. So let's find the solutions. Why don't you guys go ahead, actually reach out? I have given my phone number to all of you guys plenty times. So why don't we reach out to these community members that are actually doing the work out there? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I'm glad you say that, Mayor. At least you're saying that you're not willing to work with your community, but we're still going to be out there doing the work that we need to do.
Ms. Sanchez, you don't live in Lancaster, you live in Palmdale. And quite frankly, I haven't seen any evidence of the ACLU providing a benefit to anybody other than press releases and then rehashing something that happened 10 years ago. And not one of those cases that the LA Times reported happened in Lancaster. Every single one of those cases happened in Palmdale. So, I don't understand why you come to our meetings. You live in Palmdale, stay in Palmdale. Could Donna Tremere, you had something you wanted to say?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to note if they're talking about unincorporated areas to please reach out to the supervisor's office, 726-3600, and we'll work with you for the unincorporated areas.
Andrea, who's next?
No other speakers.
Marvin, you're muted. You're muted, Marvin.
Mayor Pierce, can I respond to we did provide those people in Little Rock, Pear Blossom, the Lake Los Angeles, and the unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County, we did provide them bus service, free bus service to the facility. So we didn't leave anybody out. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Marvin. And I wasn't aware, was the county giving the ACLU vaccinations to give out to people? I wouldn't be surprised, but I hadn't heard that.
It's Department of Health Services nurses that are actually going out to encampments in Service Planning Area 1, and they would be going with any of the coordinated entry system providers, and ACLU is not one of those providers.
Thank you. So that's Heather Barton, our Deputy Mayor for the homeless issues, and you're doing a great job. And you are doing it, the whole Antelope Valley. And I appreciate that. I get weary of people who all they do is try to take credit for what other people are doing. Moving on. No other speakers. Does the council have anything else they want to add? And hopefully the next meeting is going to be upbeat because we will have gotten our share of the vaccination. We will be vaccinating more people. And once again, thank you, Kaiser. If it wasn't for you, we'd be in desperate straits. Okay, before I close, anything else?
Rex, I want to tell you, man, I appreciate your passion for fighting for the city. I really do. I know a lot of people question your method sometimes, but I mean, I've been getting a lot of calls, especially in our community, about what you've done, and even just reaching out. A lot of people, the churches, the hip hop community, and I'm speaking for African Americans right now, they have really taken towards the vaccine. This is more than I've ever seen how the African American community is really saying we need this vaccine. So I am really excited that you are fighting for our fair share. It would seem like we will all get at least 10% of our population and move up from there. And I just want to encourage you, man, to, keep fighting until we get what we need to get. We're on your side with it. So.
Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate that. The City Council will adjourn in memory of Donna Grindy, former city clerk for the city of Lancaster from 1996 to 2003. Donna was a champion of continuing education and encouraged her staff to attend continuing education for public officials. She was a stickler for details and completely thorough in her work. She could handle the toughest city councils and the toughest of activists. She came from the city of Santa Clarita, where she earned the Distinguished Award as the City Clerk of the Year from the City Clerks Association. She was recognized for forging ahead with the 1994 election when polling places were destroyed, as well as City Hall during the Northridge earthquake. Donna set the bar high as to what to expect of a city clerk, a very honorable profession. And we missed the opportunity to work with you, Donna. I wish we had had it. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 23rd at 2021 at 5 p.m. And hopefully it'll be a joyful meeting because somebody will have heard our plea. Thank you. Good night, everybody. If you haven't been vaccinated and you're in the tiers, we will help you make the appointment, but make that appointment. We are this close to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but it does require everybody to do what's necessary